What is good, Josh on this Pool Game Man? Back with yet another NFL Power Rankings reaction video, baby. And today, week 7, another great week of football. We had a ton of upsets, a ton of really good games, some sad, disheartening games. Yes, we lost again. So Saints fans, we're gonna be quiet this time yet again. But that game was pretty sad. But one of probably the greatest, most anticipated games as far as quarterback matchups and teams, which is surprising. Considering who this team is. Commanders and Ravens game did not disappoint at all for your boy. And of course, we had both of the unbeaten teams take their weeks off. So we have a lot of different things to go into this power ranking as far as Detroit spanking up on Dallas. Trying to think, what were some other really good games or outcomes? I mean, there were just a lot of really good games in general. I think the Eagles won this past weekend. Yeah, just overall, a lot of really good games. Like I said, I was mainly tuned into obviously my Saints game, but that Ravens Commanders game for sure. So let me know what was your game of the week? What was your favorite game? But let's go ahead and jump into this power ranking, see how people moved up and down, see if the bye week affected any of the unbeatens at all. And without further ado, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're brand new to the family, baby, we have more reaction videos on the channel. If you guys want more sports reactions, let me know in the comment section so I can know to deliver those to you. But without further ado, if you want more gaming content, I do a lot of sports gaming on the gaming channel. Smooth got gaming, got Madden, and MLB The Show up on there right now. Go check that out for your boy.
Eric, nothing better than starting with a little news here. Number one, the trade that we thought was going to happen has happened. Devontae Adams
traded,
heading to New York, getting reunited with Aaron Rodgers. Not to
I think
mention, the matchup for them is against the Pittsburgh.
Oh, no. But also, too, if you guys haven't seen it as well, Amari Cooper is heading to the Bills, too, as well. At the time of recording this, that has already come out. So at the time of this dropping, that wasn't released yet, but I did see a tweet where Amari Cooper is going to the Bills, too, as well. So both teams trying to upgrade, keep themselves better than each other. I don't think the Devontae Adams trade is going to have to adjust at all. I really don't see them making the postseason still. But Buffalo finally getting somebody to kind of take over like what Stephon Diggs was doing. And Amari Cooper, a 5-time Pro Bowler, very good receiver, just kind of moves around a lot. I feel like that can actually be a big help, a boost to Josh Allen. I don't think it puts them in Super Bowl contention at all. I still think they're a playoff caliber team, mostly because their division is weak, especially with no Tua. But yeah, as far as being a actual contender for a ring on the AFC Championship,
Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if it's going to be Justin Fields starting because Mike Tomlin said that Russell Wilson is in consideration to get the start. At all a factor for you as you were analyzing these teams and setting them up?
Would have been a lot easier had they announced this 12 hours earlier, Mike. Just being honest, right? Hard enough to react to Sunday's game. Then they throw a Tuesday morning curveball, actually 2 of them at us, with the Adams news and the Wilson news. I looked at the scenario and I said, I don't think I'm touching him. I'm leaving him as is. I've kind of erased Devontae Adams from the Raiders. So, I didn't really picture them, having him at any point this season. So I kind of removed that from the equation. And the Jets, after that loss, after everything that's gone down this week, I had a hard time kind of bumping them up. So I don't know, maybe the Steelers thing has an effect, but they've been winning with Justin Fields. We'll have to break that down later, though.
Yeah, a closer look at both of those squads still to come, but as we always do, we start with the best teams in the NFL and the rankings.
All right, so here we go. Of course, it does not look like they've changed. So the top 2 stay the same. Ravens move up 2 spots to 3, well deserved. Texans staying at 4. I mean, they did take down the Commanders, whereas the Texans, they didn't play a tough team. I forgot who it was. They still got the dub, but I guess I can kind of see that now. Head-to-head, I think I'm probably still taking C.J. Stroud over the Raiders. Hey, sorry, Baltimore fans. I think I'm still taking Houston. That's just me personally. Y'all can let me know your opinions down below. Detroit dropping 2 spots to 5 after getting a butt whooping. They destroyed the Cowboys. So they were the old 3 team. Oh, yeah, if they're the old. Nah. But then it's tough because it's like somebody has to move down from that list unless you just keep Baltimore in the same spot. I think that's the right thing to do there. I think you keep Baltimore at 5, Houston at 4, and Detroit at 3. If anything, you switch maybe Houston and the Texans, but all 3 of those teams won. All 3 of the teams looked great while doing it, especially Detroit more so than the other 2. He gonna have to explain that one. Buffalo moves up 1 spot to 6, Packers up 1 to 7, and Commanders dropping 2 to 8, which, I mean, it's respectable. They lost to a good team, so I mean, it's pretty respectable. I still think they can handle Buffalo and actually Green Bay, honestly, if they played it head-to-head. So honestly, they probably could have stayed the same too. So I'm saying a lot of probablys. My official rankings, Vikings, or would be Chiefs, Vikings, Detroit, Houston, Baltimore, Washington, Buffalo, Green Bay, in that order. For at least his top 8.
disparity here from a Baltimore perspective and what we are seeing in terms of rushing yards and what they are allowed. I know defensively at times they're not what they were a season ago, but Eric, this team looks dangerous, and it looks like the freight train that is Derrick Henry, that's applying to this offense and how they're rolling.
Absolutely. Yeah. For the points you just made, right? Maybe they've taken a small step back defensively. Maybe there were some special teams questions early in the season. Those have all been washed aside the last 4 games with an offensive output that makes them one of the scariest teams in the NFL. Look, it's nothing new, right? We've been talking about Lamar Jackson for years, and he can do this to pretty much any defense, pick you apart through the air with his legs. It's good to see Mark Andrews kind of get back on track a little bit, even with the drop that led to a pick. But you add Derrick Henry to that mix. He's been spectacular, scoring a touchdown in every single game. He's obviously been a huge part and kind of a missing ingredient in some ways. They had a good rushing game before, but now they have a great one. Zay Flowers reemerging. I just don't know how you defend this team. It's going to be a chore, especially for those NFC clubs that don't see him as often. And yeah, I just had to move him up. Not that the Texans are playing poorly by any means, but felt like I had to leapfrog him into that number 3 hole there, right there with the undefeated teams as most scary clubs in the NFL.
Yeah, right now, in the number that I'm referencing, the Ravens averaging 146.3 more rushing yards than their opponents this season. If it holds, and look, there's a long way to go here, it would be the largest differential in NFL history. You mentioned the Texans. Let's slide to them at number 4 now on the power rankings for you. CJ Stroud, we talked about a sophomore slump. That's not what this is. You know what's interesting to me, though? The guy was so stellar a year ago as a rookie, not turning the football over. We're seeing some of that. By the way, they're the 4th team in the NFL, and I'm going negative here. I don't mean to do that. I guess I'm sort of nitpicking here, but the reality is still a talented ball club.
Absolutely, right? And then their pass defense has done a really nice job. They didn't have Kamari Lassiter, and they still step up with a good performance. Granted, Drake May's first game out there in Foxborough, but they did 2 things that really impressed me, Mike, which is they got off to a great start, up 14-0. Points have been a little troublesome at times this season. They've settled for field goals and whatnot. And then scoring late to put a team away. All their wins had been close to this point. Their one loss was a blowout to Minnesota. But I really wanted to kind of see them, for lack of a better phrase, step on a team's neck a little bit. To do that on the road in Joe Mixon's return, he was such a huge part of what they did Sunday. Dameon Pierce adds the big touchdown late. They were great on the ground. You saw Tank Dell get involved in the pass game a little bit more. Stephon Diggs had his role. So you could miss a guy like Nico Collins, one of the NFL's best young receivers, and still have this when Joe Mixon is back in the lineup. So, again, second half scoring was also an issue. CJ's played pretty well. It hasn't been quite as spectacular, but they're a lot to deal with right now.
Yeah, no Nico Collins, as you made reference to, injured reserve with the hamstring injury. 3 different players with a receiving touchdown. And once again, I apologize to the Houston Texans fans out there. I love your squad, especially what they do on the defensive side, which I don't think they get nearly enough credit for. They'll match up against Green Bay on the road this coming weekend. We'll talk about the Packers in just a moment. It is time for Future Champions, presented by FanDuel. And check this out. Best division in all of football, the NFC North. And right now, according to FanDuel, it's the Lions and Vikings. Even opportunity to go win this division. The Packers and the Chicago Bears falling behind. Now, at number 5 on your power rankings, you got the Detroit Lions. They've actually dropped 2 spots here. They demolished. I mean, this game wasn't even competitive from jump against the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that...
Just look at how he's smiling. He's like, yeah, I knew this was coming. I got to explain this bit.
Deserves a conversation later here on power rankings. But is it just the Hutchinson aspect in this injury being gone for the season that has you pausing for concern?
I didn't know it was that bad.
I wrote in my column for this week's power rankings that I felt dirty moving them down 2 spots. And I truly did, because I said to myself, look, I mean, I did it with Rashid Rice. I did it with other key figures, Tua Tagovailoa, who have been injured this season. You got to ask, what is it going to do to the team? That said, this was a dominant performance in Dallas. I was particularly impressed by the fact that after this long delay, after losing kind of the heartbeat of their team in a lot of ways, Detroit played some pretty inspired ball after that. I understand it was a pretty big margin, but it was almost like they were out to send a message, hey, we're not going away. Just because our best defensive player is hurt, we now have an offense that is back to 2023 levels, perhaps beyond. We could bust out a trick play at any time like this, one of many on the day. They didn't all work, but this one did. And you're seeing kind of the fruits of what they've put in offensively the last couple of years. It's back to where it was, and possibly even better if a guy like Tim Patrick keeps producing. So, yeah, I'm still impressed with this team. There's no way I'm knocking them all the way down, but I felt like I had to reflect the fact that Hutchinson has been such an important part to this team the last couple of years. And look, it's going to have an effect one way or another. I know Dan Campbell's going to get those guys fired up, and I hope they prove me wrong. But yeah, it's just sort of reflecting the reality of the situation.
Yeah, back-to-back games, the Lions have scored at least 40 points. First time that's happened for the franchise, 1962. We weren't born yet at this point. I'm just throwing that out there. It has been a very long time that we could have a conversation like this. Matching up against Minnesota this week, a huge, mammoth game for both of those squads. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills snap a 2-game losing streak here. I pause. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, this thing, the Jets blew some opportunities on Monday Night Football. Yep. And at the same time, Josh Allen's still Josh Allen. They got it done without James Cook out on the football field. I don't know. Are they still one of the best teams in the league?
I think so. You saw Ray Davis step up in that role all day and all of the night, right? He was outstanding running the football. They actually got away from him at one point. I was sort of screaming at my TV asking why, but it's still a talented football team. They're going to get Cook back pretty soon. You see that the trust that Allen kind of has is developing a little bit more with his receivers. The penalties really marred this game on both sides. There were probably more flags than there should have been, and that's sort of.
And the fact is, too, they did just get a top. This actually probably is actually a decent spot now because they just got a top tier receiver too. So I would feel better about having the 6 now, knowing now before it ended probably been 7, but now that they got Amari, definitely putting a 6.
Sort of thing, and it did sort of cast an ugly pall over this entire game. So I don't want to put too much stock into what happened Monday night, but look, they went up against a desperate team that had a wild week and withstood the Aaron Rodgers storm. I mean, he did dice him up for a good portion of that game, but at the end, big defensive play from Teron Johnson. He'd missed 4 games in a row. That was huge. They're just coming up with more guys on this roster than I realized they had. The depth was questioned after the offseason. I don't know that you can do that as much anymore.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, the Bills still in control in the AFC East. They've won this division now 4 consecutive seasons and looking again like they are the team to beat. Although maybe the Devontae Adams equation with the Jets changes that conversation in just a couple weeks. The Packers, they move up 1 spot here. We're spending a lot of time on defense in this A block. We loved up the Houston Texans. It's a reason why the Lions had dropped a spot. I don't think we give enough credit to what Green Bay's defense has been able to accomplish. It feels like every single game, Eric, there's multiple takeaways.
Yep. And it feels like every single year for the past 2 decades, Packers fans have had a defensive coordinator, to complain about, somebody they're ready to get rid of. But Jeff Hafley has come in and fixed the problem, which is takeaways. They had 18 of them all last season. They're already at 17 now through 6 games. You pointed out 2 per game, at least every single time. Xavier McKinney's come in and done a terrific job. The young waves of defensive talent they drafted over the last couple of years have really kind of bolstered that group as a whole. And it's nice when Jordan Love is also helping out with some productive drives. He was sort of calm and patient and took what the defense gave him early, and then he took his shots late when he had a little bit of a lead. But they were still creeping back into the game, and there was a lot of Favre-like plays in that second half where you said, man, Jordan Love looks like he's healthy again. This defense is doing well. If they can only solve the kicker problems, they have a chance to crack that top 5 and keep moving up.
A couple weeks ago when the Bills were 3-0, we had said, we're going to learn about this team with road games against Baltimore and Houston. I think the same could be. So we got a bunch of barometer games. I know I made reference to the Packers hosting the Houston Texans. That will really dramatically, I think, alter what we're going to see next week on Power Rankings, and then obviously Lions and Vikings. Meanwhile, the Commanders at 8, they dropped 2 spots, 52 rushing yards on the ground. Not going to get it done. And Jaden Daniels, by the way, has been stellar, also held in check in that run game. This is just a blip on the radar for the squad, right?
I think so. Although at the same time, when I was watching that game, it was clear kind of the experience level and talent disparity that there still is between a team like Baltimore and the Washington Commanders. I give Jaden Daniels a lot of credit. They took the run game away from him, kind of spied him, hemmed him in a little bit. They didn't have Brian Robinson Jr. So it's like working left-handed the entire game, but they found ways to keep it close. I understand the score was maybe a little cosmetic there, but again, a 1-score deficit, did what they could. The reality is that defense is going to have their hands full against stacked offenses like the Ravens all season long. I'm not selling on them as a contender. I think they're very much in the mix, especially with the chaos in Dallas and the Giants still struggling a little bit. The Eagles are kind of a who knows type of team. So I'm still buying a little bit of stock. It's just lightly buying on the way up, I guess.
Yeah, it's a hard division to handicap. I might push back a little bit on the Eagles now that they're healthy, and we'll have that conversation coming up in just a couple minutes. I still think that they might be the team to beat, and I'm still holding out a little faith on the Giants.
Hell no! I know you lying.
It's just a fan of me.
All right,
I know.
I ain't even got stock in the Saints no more, gang. I'm sorry, bro. Like, we just gonna be sad this season. We're gonna celebrate them dubs when they do happen. I know for dang sure the Giants, y'all might as well go ahead and start looking at them draft picks. Hey, I hear that dude Shedeur Sanders. Now you want to go somewhere warm. You might as well go get Cam Ward. No longer in quadrant 2. I knew it. This is only in quadrant 4. Bucks and Steelers stay at 9 and 10. I'm cool with that. Falcons move up 1 at 11, of course. Eagles drop down 1 to 12. Bears move up 4 to 13. Caleb Williams got that team looking kind of right now. 49ers move up 4 spots to 14. Chargers move up 4 spots to 15. And the Broncos move down 2 spots to 16. I don't think I would change anything, honestly. I like where this is at.
Maybe
Bears above Eagles. Maybe.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers checking in at number 9, scored 51 points, almost 600 total yards. What an offensive showing against the Saints. The Steelers, once again, having some conversations about Russ, which we'll get to in just a moment. The Atlanta Falcons are at 11. They've scored at least 36 points in each of their last 2 games. Remember, this is a team that started off a little slow offensively. At number 12, the Eagles, healthy, handle business against the Browns. The Bears, London was good. They beat up on the Jags. At 14, the Niners, they improve to the 500 mark at 3-3 with a win against Seattle. The Chargers are at 15 after snapping a 3-game slide, and the Broncos actually had a 3-game winning streak now, officially in the rearview mirror, checking in at 16. Let's focus in on this Bucs squad. Once again, great game, Monday Night Football against the Ravens. I'm a believer. I think you and I have talked about this. Offensively, pretty good. I don't know if they handle business against the Baltimore Ravens, but I feel like when their backs are up against the wall, Baker Mayfield just figures out ways to respond.
Yeah, he responded in the game Sunday, right? Threw some early interceptions. Maybe one of them wasn't his fault, but seemed to be kind of forcing the issue a little bit, and then really got on track and started picking the Saints defense apart. And was it great that they had Sean Tucker stepping in, kind of a little known, formerly undrafted guy out of Syracuse, and had a massive game? Absolutely, but it still starts and ends, I think, with what Godwin, Evans, Mayfield, Cade Otton, the tight end, et cetera, can do. A good sort of response. They get up early, take a punch, and then fight back to win this game ahead of the big Monday Nighter, as you said.
At number 10 here, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have been flirting in this position pretty much the entire season.
Yeah.
Eric, we touched on it at the top. Mike Tomlin. Hey, Russ is in consideration to start. Can you think of a top 10 team that has questions at the quarterback spot? Like, this is actually, it speaks volumes to what the roster actually looks like besides the QB1.
Yeah, it's one thing if you have an injured quarterback or you have a couple options on the bench you're deciding between. That's not really what's happening here, right? Obviously, Russ was hurt. That thrust Fields into the lineup. Now both guys are healthy. He was back last week. He was elevated to number 2. Fields didn't play great, had an interception called back by penalty, did run for 2 touchdowns. But the bottom line is they're winning with him at quarterback. I think there might be some sense that what happened against Dallas or what didn't happen against them, especially after the Lions blew that same Dallas defense apart on Sunday, may have contributed to the equation here a little bit and given Wilson a little bit more of
I want to donate to get smooth with Justin Fields jersey. I'll wear it in the next video, bro. DM me how you gonna give me that bread.
Bump up. And he was running ahead of Fields in training camp before that calf started barking. So I suppose that's the line of thinking. Maybe a little better relationship with Pickens. Who knows? But this is Mike Tomlin. He's got a pretty good record for coaching in this league. So I think it makes sense that there's some logic behind it.
Yeah, and look, in the NFL, and we know this because we watch these games every single week as Eric tries to rank these teams. I shouldn't say try. He does rank the teams, but the point is the margins are thin here. And if Russ is like a smidge better than Justin in Tomlin's eye, that might be enough to really move the needle and try to make a change here. At number 12, and you got to stay healthy, and the Eagles finally a little bit more healthy, and they get it done against the Browns. They still drop a spot for you. It sounds like you're a little on the fence about Philly. Why?
Wasn't crazy about their performance on Sunday against the Browns team that obviously has a lot of things going wrong for them. And it was a real struggle there. I mean, they really had to sort of put the effort into finishing this one off. And it took every A.J. Brown catch. It was great to see him back and producing. Obviously, that's a huge part of their team. That was factored in. But it really took a big effort and some Cleveland penalties on their last drive. I mean, they were down to the 3 or 4 yard line and couldn't punch it in, settled for a field goal. That kind of ended up being the difference. They didn't get the ball back. So still a lot to prove for me. Barkley was a non-factor. Jalen Hurts had kind of a quiet game, relatively speaking. I want to see a little bit more, but it was good to see the defense make some strides and guys like Cooper DeJean step up in that nickel role that they badly needed to fix.
I know we're not going to spend too much time talking about the Browns. I got to tell you, can you imagine if they were getting above average quarterback play? I think we'd have a much different conversation about this Cleveland squad, and they would be falling to the end of power rankings. By the way, Eagles matching up against the G-Men this week. Time for Power Moves presented by Energizer. The Bears on the rise. They've now moved up 4 spots to 13. We just talked a little bit about what they were able to accomplish in London. Caleb Williams, the comfort in this offense, the execution. We're seeing him with the plethora of options that we knew on paper looked really good before the season. It's now paying dividends out on the football field.
Getting Keenan Allen back, I think, was huge. And Williams has looked terrific the last 2 games. It has to come with the caveat that it did come against the Panthers and Jaguars, arguably 2 of the 5 worst defenses in football. But look at that play to Cole Kmet. First of all, getting him involved, I think, was also a big development. A little bit quiet earlier in the season, but great play designs from Shane Waldron, really spread those Jaguars out, got the ball into multiple playmakers' hands, and Williams just looked so much more comfortable. Everything was less strained. The first few games of the season, he looked like a guy doing his taxes on April 14th, but looking pretty good now. You see he's deciding when to run, when to throw, and who to throw to with a lot more ease and a lot more comfort, I think, in this sort of new Bears offense, I guess.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that's a little bit of a procrastinator when it comes to that tax situation as well. Hopefully I look a little more. Exactly. You throw money at the problem is how I like to describe it. At 15, it is the Chargers. Move up 4 spots. You've actually, I think, been more optimistic about the Chargers than most. I thought this was a positive sign to win a game like this. It's a little dirty ball control. This is what we expected from Harbaugh. These types of games.
Oh, Jim doesn't care how it happens, right? I mean, we saw it last year with Michigan, so a lot of close games. But, when you're able to run the ball down teams' throats, that helps a lot. But they got creative in the passing game, and they asked Justin Herbert to throw it early in this game. Kamani Vidal with a long TD catch. I thought Lab McConkey had some big plays, left with injury, and Simi Fehoko steps up. So they're spreading the ball around as best they can. Joshua Palmer finally making his impact as well. Defensively, they were great for 3 quarters, up 23-zip. Got a little dicey late, but this Chargers team has a formula, and they're sticking to it right now, and it's working. Defensively, they're so much better than a year ago.
Yeah, and there's also a formula for the team that they beat in the Denver Broncos, who defensively have looked pretty strong, generally speaking, and had been running a 3-game winning streak. So this is a good win from a Chargers perspective. More to come here, though, on NFL Power Rankings. And yes, we touched on the Devontae Adams trade. He is heading to New York to get reunited with Aaron Rodgers. What does it mean not only for this week's edition of Power Rankings, but how it might unfold as the rest of the season goes on?
All right. And you see we are there at 21, dropping 5 spots. Okay. Seahawks dropped 2 to 17. Colts up 3 to 18. Cowboys dropping 6 to 19. You have the Jets staying put at 20. Bengals up 2 to 22. Giants staying at 23. Cardinals down 2 to 24. Only change I'm making, put us above the Jets. And I'm cool. Put us above the Jets. Giants or Cardinals? Yeah, I mean, you probably could leave it right there. I mean, honestly, they're literally equals, honestly, to me at least. So the Bengals started to pick it up a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if they continue this rise up the board. The Jets, like I said, I don't think even with Devontae Adams, they are going to do much else. I think they kind of sit right here in this third quadrant for a good minute. Cowboys, I think, are going to only continue to slide. Colts probably sitting around this spot too as well. Seahawks I'll probably tap me out right here about the middle of the league. So I like where this is at. This move was about the Jets, though, for real.
Please explain to me what the heck is going on in Big D.
And who?
Inexcusable. I don't know how else to describe the performance that we witnessed from that
Hey,
team.
yo.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people make an excuse on Twitter. Oh, they don't have Micah Parsons. They don't have DeMarcus Lawrence.
Now.
Well, they didn't have him the week before. They went into Pittsburgh and, at least held up sort of, right? So, what they did on Sunday, even against an explosive Lions offense was, like you said, inexcusable. I thought there were some business decisions late, after the league got a little big, and the tackling and the discipline. I mean, just wide open receivers in a lot of cases. So, yeah, this has got to get fixed. Jerry Jones, no way to spend your 82nd birthday watching this kind of a performance. And, it's amazing. I mean, they've been so poor at home after the 16-game win streak. The last 4, they've been outscored by 82 points. I mean, maybe it's a good thing they're going on the road, Mike. I don't know, but they're 3-0 away from home this year and not good at home.
Yeah, we were doing NFL game day preview a couple of weeks ago. I said to Steve Weich on that show, like, hey, maybe it's a good thing that Dallas is hitting the road. He's like, really? And it's now consistently now playing out this way. I don't know how to answer that question. The Jets, biggest news of the week, Davante Adams. We know where he's going. He's getting reunited with Aaron Rodgers. We touched on it at the top. Open-ended. What do we make of this team? Because even with a coaching change, they still couldn't figure out a way to get it done. It was still sloppy with all the penalties. And yet, I don't know if adding Davante Adams really puts this team back into playoff consideration. Maybe I'm crazy.
I don't think you are, Mike. This is the question I have. It's funny because everybody has expected this move to happen, right? Davante's going to get traded. Where's the most likely place? To the Jets, where Aaron Rodgers, his buddy, is, and it worked out exactly the way we thought. And yet, there's still questions about how this is all going to work, right? Can you have Alan Lazard, who's been productive for him, Garrett Wilson, who's coming on, Mike Williams, and Davante Adams all operating in the same offense? I'm not sure you can. I don't know how they all fit together. We'll see. I mean, maybe this is the magic pill here, but I have my doubts. As amazing as a receiver as Adams is.
Here's the only other thing, and I'll tag it with this. When I watched them Monday night, their best offense was giving Brees all the football, and now all of a sudden,
it always
putting
has
more pressure on the passing game to try to deliver. Hall is
give the ball to Brees. He won me fantasy.
No disrespect to the rest of those guys.
And boy, won me fantasy. Boy, between him and Jamar Gibbs, boy, that running back team that I had last year, I had both of them too. Boy, I think the only week I lost one was when they went on bye because I think they both went on bye at the same time. But no, here we go. Bottom of the last quadrant. Here we got the Rams moving up 2 spots to 25, Dolphins up 2 to 26, Raiders down 2, Titans down 2. And then the bottom 4 staying the same: Jags, Browns, Patriots, Panthers. You honestly probably could put the Browns lower than the Patriots. Low key, might even be able to put the Browns lower than the Panthers. But let me know down below what you guys are thinking about this last spot. But I think this is kind of pretty much works out. I mean, I do think the Rams are better than the Dolphins. But the Dolphins are probably still better than the Raiders. Titans are kind of still weak. Like I said, the one thing that maybe you can even move the Browns below the Panthers at this point.
Meanwhile, teams 25 through 32, the Rams at 25, the Dolphins at 26. At 27, Raiders, doesn't matter if it's Gardner or Aiden, offense is struggling both ways. At 28, the Titans, also tough to watch. The Jags, ooh, boy, at 29. Don't know what's going on with the Browns at 30. The Patriots got a spark with Drake May. They still lost, though, at 31. And then at 32, the L's continue to mount up for the Panthers. The Patriots, Mayo made the change here. I actually think it was a good change. There's signs of life now with the Patriot squad. In a gettable, well, maybe not with the Bills, but I think the division's
I agree.
Gettable.
Yeah, the turnovers are a problem. They've got to clean that up. Drake knows that, but they put some life into that offense, as you said. That 40-yard TD to Kayshon Boutte was the best throw we've seen from a Patriots QB this season, maybe even last year or the year before, too. It's got to get better, I think, even with the turnovers.
Yeah, I think Patriots fans need it. They drafted this dude. They wanted to see him thrive out on the football field. Yes. 3 touchdowns. You're right. We'll figure out those turnovers. By the way, if you want a little more analysis on your specific...
And let me know, guys. Let me know how you guys feel about those power rankings. Are there any surprises, shocks, or anything like that to you guys? What games are you guys excited for this upcoming week and matchups? I think they mentioned and alluded to the fact that Detroit and Minnesota are playing. I got to pull up my schedule here because I ain't gonna lie, I'll be looking at the matchups and I'll be not necessarily like as far as like gambling, but they got like little games on here where you can get to pick the winners. And I like to see if I can guess games right. So your boy actually doing pretty good this year, and I did pick the games earlier, but I was not paying attention to who was playing who. Let's see, this upcoming week we're playing the Broncos on Thursday. Got a couple of bad games. Okay, yeah, Texans and the Packers. That's gonna be a good game. Yeah, I think all eyes gonna be on Detroit and Minnesota to see what comes from that game. That looks like the best game of the week, honestly. As far as matchups go, Ravens and Bucks is kind of hard, but yeah, no, it's definitely Detroit. I mean, that's top three though. Ravens, Bucks, Detroit, Vikings, and Houston and Green Bay. But definitely all eyes on Detroit and Vikings because I do believe, I'm going to say it right now, Detroit walks away with the victory, upsetting Minnesota, leaving the Chiefs with the only unbeaten record. That's my prediction right now for that. I'm taking Houston over Green Bay, and I'm taking Baltimore over Tampa Bay. But let me know down below, at least in those 3 games, what team are you guys rocking with? And we'll go ahead and have a conversation down below, see who is right when we come back and check for next week's Week 8 Power Rankings. So, catch you guys in the next video. Man, it's me with Sean, too Smooth, and Black Kage, Black Avatar, King Leo. And I'll catch you guys in the next video, man. Make sure you guys head over to Smooth Got Game. If you want to Madden rebuild, I'm actually rebuilding the Patriots over there. So, very interesting series. Make sure you guys go head out and check out those videos for your boy. Catch y'all next time, man. Peace.